Because it was live on YouTube, so let's go.
We are live again, take two, as we try to figure this bad boy out. Welcome in. This is we're doing the SimWorld TV SWBA live in your living room. We're doing the lottery. Bear with us as we're trying to figure this whole ordeal out. But we're going to be doing a live reaction here. Bear with me as I get us this thing happening. All right. Live now. Hey, we got people in here. What's up, people? Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all somehow seeing it. I don't know where it came in. So we got Coach Pope, we got Tony D, we got Brock. Appreciate y'all joining us in. We're live here, obviously, on YouTube. I'm going to throw a little message into the Discord channel so folks can tune in. So give me 1 second as we get that rolling. As you can tell, this is not maybe our most produced event. It's just Rico and Marsh going rogue. So, you know, that's how we're rolling this thing today. I don't know what else to tell y'all, but that's how we're doing it. Rico, what are we looking for? We've got the number one pick. It's going to be revealed in 15 minutes, so we got 15 minutes to get there. What's going on? Your thoughts here as we get ready for the lottery itself.
Well, I mean, for the home team, for me, it's the Chicago Bulls, right? And for me, like they have the same percentage that they had going into this lottery that they did when they got Derrick Rose. So we're hoping that we're going to get some luck there if you're a Chicago Bulls fan. And so I think that that is one of the things that you're going to hear about too. It's all about the Cooper flag, right? And everything that's going on there. So.
Well, remember, Cooper Flag's not coming out for another year, so it would be Cooper Flag, right? But we've got a year to wait for Cooper Flag. So I'm sorry, look, great production issues. My cat's being a pain in the ass. 1 second. Come on, booger. We're live, my man. All right, just rolling starts over here. So. Back on track. So it would be Cooper Flag if Cooper Flag was actually coming out, but it's not, right? So we're looking at some order of Trey Turner, Jalen Snow, Cooper Kingy Cross, Lamarian Sherwood, Jamison Johnson in that mix. I did a show earlier today, Rico, so I'm curious your thoughts. Like, who needs number one the most?
Oh man, who needs number one the most? That's a great question. Because there's so many teams that just, man, they need this bad. Um, Man, it just depends on what you're looking for, right? Like I hate to give you that type of answer, but I don't know what you're looking for exactly. And this is kind of some of the stuff that we were talking about throughout the tournament. Just did these guys increase their draft stock? Did they hurt it? I don't think that they did because it was one game, but Marsh, I couldn't even tell you. I just really couldn't tell you right now.
I think I went through all these picks, and here let's fill people in. Like, what are we looking for? So, by the way, we're not going to be showing the draft lottery because there's copyright restrictions on it. So, if you want to throw on, I've got the draft lottery here with me in the room. So, we'll do a live reaction. We're probably a little bit behind, so just time yourself up. Right now, the clock is showing 12:40 on the ESPN countdown, so that's how long until we get the reveal. If you wanna sync up, we are going to do a live reaction as the lottery kind of ticks down. So these are the odds. We've got three teams at 14% odds for number one. That's Utah, Washington, Charlotte. We've got New Orleans, and we've got Philadelphia at 12.5 and 10.5. Those are your double-digit percentages. Let's talk Philadelphia. This is a team that cannot fall two spots. So if we see, before we get to the top four picks, Rico, if we see two teams that are not Utah, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, then it's trouble for Philadelphia because that pick goes to Oklahoma City, who's tied at 2 with Denver. So what do you feel is the opinion right now? Obviously, we know that they want it, but what's the mood in Philadelphia? It's got to be an anxious one, right? Knowing that so much is on the line here.
It is. I think it is. And for anybody that needs a big man, and I was thinking about them, but I didn't want to go ahead and outright say it was Philadelphia. But I think Philadelphia could really use a big because for them, I think it's time that they start to pivot off of Embiid. I think that no matter what happens, you got to say, oh, look, we need to go younger. And so I like what they got in last season's SWBA draft. I think that that was a good start, but you got to start to clean house. And so I think that you get rid of him and then you're gonna have to maybe try to figure out a way to get off of PG. I mean, I know that's going to sound wild to some fans out there, but I think you really start to have to pivot big time here.
Yeah, I think this is the off ramp opportunity for Philadelphia, right? This is a chance for them to potentially, if you can get a top five pick and you can add somebody nice next to Tyrese Maxey, right? Whether that's Jameson Johnson, Lamarian Sherwood, Jalen Snow. I think Tyrese Maxey is. This is a draft that I think they're the one team that Cooper King across probably doesn't make a lot of sense on. Every other guard, every other forward on this team makes a lot of sense. So I think that if you're Philadelphia, you're thinking, can we get a number one pick that allows us to off ramp Embiid, right? And now we try to the danger isn't so high that we have to figure out a way to keep him healthy, but instead it's can we get him traded somewhere else, get this cap hit off, we'll take some bad money somewhere else. At least we've got tentpole guys in Maxey and insert player two. I don't know if you really want to get back into the big man lottery again and take Johnson or Sherwood. Maybe it's Jalen Snow or Trey Turner or Glory Tate. But I think that's what, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm looking at. I want to
Well,
keep the pick and then not get another big man.
Well, here's what I would say about that too. You got to think about this, and this is something that I talked about where it's like, okay, are you doing something where you're going best available, or like how are you looking at that pick? Because some teams are going to go, look, we just want to get the best available. Some people are going to be looking at the fit, and you got to look at Jared McCain. He's still there, and so he's going
True.
to come back. He was having a fabulous rookie season,
Yep.
and so you got to think about that. I think he's definitely a long term piece for you. So you got to go, okay, what are we going to do to where we don't kind of stop that development? Because I think you have a piece.
So feel free to hop in the chat, folks. If there's a guy somebody that you want to talk about, I see we got 7 folks in here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. But if there's anybody that you think should be the number one pick, let us know. To continue on to round out the lottery odds, Brooklyn sits there at 6 with 9%. Toronto at 7.5%. San Antonio has likely 2 picks. Atlanta's, which is 0.7% chance of going number one, and then their own, which is 6%, and then Phoenix comes in. They're not going to own that one. That's going to end up in Brooklyn via Houston, or is it via Houston? I think it ends up in Houston via Brooklyn. I think is it, and then Portland, Dallas, Chicago, Sacramento, which also has some protections on there as well. So the lottery odds are pretty chaotic, especially likelihood that we see somebody like Atlanta make a jump up to number one again seems pretty unlikely to happen. We talked about kind of there's not really a singular team that needs to have the number one pick. Let's just kind of take a look at some of these pieces. If Utah ends up with the number one pick, and reminder, you feel free to, as they head to the stage, we got 7:50 now. So 7:50 on the clock if you want to time up and watch it and react with us. We got the TV up on top of us. If Utah and is able to get the number one pick, who are they going with?
Utah, I think they go with a guard. And I think that for them, because I think that they're going to move off of Colin Saxton, if
Yeah,
I
I
said that
think you
right.
have
Hopefully,
Sexton. Yeah,
yeah, or Sexton, excuse me. I think they're going to move off of him. I think that they are going to move off of him. And I think that a player that maybe makes sense here, I would like to see a Jalen Snow go there. I mean, that's probably a little too rich for a lot of people there, but I just think that the way that he's dynamic, he can knock down the 3-point shot. I would love him there personally. Maybe some people think it's going to be a CKC. I could see like also two Lace Darius as well. Just thinking of like a combo guard. I think that is the direction that they need to go if I'm Utah.
a combo guard. So you're thinking? I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask. Trey Turner, Jalen Snow in that range, CKC. That's what you're thinking. Do you, I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about CK or Jalen Snow as not being a number one pick. Or do you subscribe to that thought process that he's not a number one pick?
I probably drink a little bit too much of the snowman's Kool-Aid. I think that I love him a lot. I really do. I just think that he could take another step forward. I think that the biggest thing for him is just defensively. He's got to get better. And I think that that just comes into buying into it. But his creativity and just the way that he is, I think that you plug him in with a big man, and you got to think about the fact that they already have some pretty good pieces there. I mean, they have Filipovsky, who they got last season. I think that that's a great fit. They still got to figure out what they want to do with John Collins, Jordan Clarkson. We'll see if they come back. He was kind of like a microwave for them. And so I think that they could kind of clear that up a little bit and they could throw him in there and he could be a terrific off ball player for them.
I could see it. All right, let's keep. We've got like 4 minutes now, so let's keep moving down the list. Who would you like? As I'm trying to pull the lottery back up, if you're Washington, to me, I always like the hometown story. CKC stays in Washington. Is that the move, or do you think there's something else? They go somewhere else.
Earlier, I was thinking that they were going to go with a double big. I think so because, like, with the big that they currently have out of last season with Sar can do something that's different, comparatively speaking, to maybe a big that's just going to command the post. So, like, if you go with Johnson or if you go with Sherwood, they could be more of your traditional back to the basket. Sar is a guy that's going to shoot 3 pointers. Okay. So it's like you almost have like a twin tower type of deal with them, right? And so I'm thinking maybe they would go that way. I do see where CKC would fit there if you're saying, okay, we have Sar, because they do have some other guys too. They got Bub Carrington, who's like just an everything type of player, and I think that he's going to take off this next season. So they do have some good stuff. Keyshawn George, I believe, is there. So they have some good pieces that you can go ahead and you can skip over a guard. But personally, for me, I think that they go big there. That's just my personal.
I think there's nothing tied down right now to Washington that you should not take. And I always subscribe to the mentality best player available, just across the board. It should always be the best player because there's just it's so easy in basketball unless you're taking a sub 6'3" guard and you have Steph Curry on your team. And even then, I still think you take best player available. But it's so easy to just figure out things that could potentially work regardless of who you've got. So if I'm sitting there and I'm Washington, I like CKC because I do think there's a great argument for him to be best player available, and to think that business doesn't play into this, I think is wrong. I mean, there's the fact that you're getting one of the best local prospects to a program and an organization that's had no history of positivity. I I don't think we can overlook that. I really think that people are that matters. That matters to organizations that say, look, at least we can sell some things. We can sell tickets because we've got a guy that people know, that are familiar with. He's had great success with the Terrapins. Obviously, they're moved on to the second round, a matchup with Villanova coming up next. So a lot on the line as we are now going through the introductions for every single player that is, or person rather, as we get Hakeem Olajuwon on the screen right now. That's going to be representing their organization here in the class here. Let me get it down here on the iPad so I'm not, looking up my nostrils, staring at the old boogers for this one here. As we are counting down the final moments here of the draft. So we are just about to go live with, what is it, Mark Tatum, the deputy commissioner, as we're seeing Mitch Johnson on the screen, the new head coach for San Antonio, for this one, and then Masai Ujiri represent. I'm just trying to let you guys time it up. I don't know, the clock is gone. I have no idea where the clock is as we're finalizing our picks. There's the guy you're talking about, Jared McCain. Really big opportunity for Philadelphia. They have to be sweating it out. I'm interested to see Zion there, Rico, representing New Orleans. Who knows how much longer he's going to be there. I mean, geez, is he waiting to be a teammate, or is he waiting to see a former not ever teammate? Is he gone this summer, do you think?
I think that Joe Dumars cannot wait. He just fast enough to get him out of there. I really do think that. Come on, bad boy Pistons guy that's played all 82 games. Do you think that really he's going to want his star player who probably gives you 30 games a season? I got to go back and look. I think he's only played like 60, 70, maybe once, twice in his career. But yeah, I just think that Dumars is going to be looking to move on from him. But I just think that they're going to have to ask the asking price to go down because I'm not giving him a first round pick. Not for Zion. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to buy into, oh, you're going to get him to our franchise and he's just going to magically he's going to start to play all these games and everything else because he just hasn't shown that in his career. So I just cannot give you a whole bunch of first round draft capital, which I'm sure that's what the Pelicans want because it's a full rebuild.
All right, we've got Mark Tatum approaching the board as he is about to kick it off. I've got no audio, so we're just going to be trying to read lips and see what he's throwing up. All right, 14th pick as we get rolling is going to be, and again, you're Philadelphia, you want to see no one. Atlanta, so San Antonio via Atlanta, that's as expected. No surprise there. That's where it's supposed to be. Atlanta's pick heads to, and that's through the DeJounte Murray trade. Atlanta here. So does that mean that was the Kings pick? So that also was meant to happen. Again, we're trying to figure this thing out with like no audio. So all right, the first two picks are exactly as we spot. Chicago, so Philadelphia's feeling pretty good. The Bulls coming in there at number 12, as was expected. We should see Dallas show up. We don't. So Dallas has jumped. Oh, I want to talk about this, Rico. I've got a conspiracy theory about the Dallas Mavericks. So the Dallas Mavericks have jumped into the top 4. I've got a conspiracy theory, and I don't think it's going to be wrong now. Dallas jumps up. Here comes Houston. So Houston, that's via the the Phoenix Suns pick. So that's where it's supposed to be. The next one up should be San Antonio. Otherwise, they've jumped. They've jumped as well. So San Antonio and Dallas. I'm getting stoked over here, Rico. I'm having a blast. I don't know how you're feeling. San Antonio is going to get a chance to add somebody next to Victor Wembanyama. My goodness, I'm going to have to get the chat up here in a second. Okay, so we've got that. Brooklyn comes in. That's what we expected. So Brooklyn Nets are now picking next as we're going to come to a commercial break, and then I'm going to finally cede the floor. New Orleans, so that means Philadelphia is going to hold on to their pick. New Orleans falls down. They fall to number 7, and I think that's as far as they could fall. So Philadelphia's moved up, and there's Washington coming in at number 6, and then number 5. It's either going to be It's either going to be Utah or Charlotte here. So Philadelphia is in the top 4. My God, this is incredible. Washington is at number 6, and that's Utah coming in at number 5, so Charlotte has jumped into the top 4. Rico, your takeaways. We've got Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, and Charlotte as our top 4 picks. What is going on?
Well, let me start by saying that San Antonio, if you're a fan of San Antonio, you have just got to be just ecstatic. You got Wemby, right? You got Castle last season. Now you're getting ready to add some generational talent because this draft, it's marked as maybe one of the best out there. And so I think whatever the Spurs do this year, it's going to be terrific for their franchise. Like, I think that they're in a terrific situation. You already executed the trade to get De'Aaron Fox. Like, this team, they're the team to watch.
Yeah. Look, I said in my podcast today at 2 o'clock, I feel Rick is the prophet. I've ceded that title to him. But the conspiracy theories, get out your tinfoil hats, because 3 of my conspiracies are on the table, Rico. We've got Dallas, who traded away their star player, now gets a chance to recoup all those assets and potentially get a generational talent. We've got San Antonio, who's got the greatest young player in the generation. He's now got a chance to do it. And then you add in, who was my other one? Philadelphia, and the off-ramp of adding him in. So I can't believe, 3 of the conspiracy theories, one of them is very likely to get the number 1 pick, if not better, here in the SWBA draft. Feel free, guys, put it in the chat. Who do you think is getting it? Let us know. But Rico, this is stunning. Who's now picking in the top 4?
The biggest story is if Dallas somehow, after all that they went through, Get the number one pick. I think that that
Conspiracy.
would be just tremendous if
That's what I'm
they
telling
come
you.
back and they get the number one pick after all this.
And this is why people think the league is rigged. This is why people like me are idiots and say that there's conspiracies, because you can't tell me that's wrong right now. I cannot be convinced otherwise, Rico, that this isn't Adam Silver saying, Nico Harrison, you're an idiot, but Dallas is too good of a market, and we can't have this stand. You're gonna get a pick. I can't believe that he's getting the easiest of off ramps, the easiest.
Yeah.
He's let off the hook.
I think even if they get the number one pick and the conspiracy is out there and you're right, can Nico actually navigate through this though? I mean, has all the damage been done, with him? I just wonder what the fan base is going to do. Like, do they believe enough in him? Like, would potentially getting the first pick in the draft and hitting on that, would that make all well now that you traded off a franchise favorite? Because I think
Well,
still they want his job.
he'll play there for 6 years and then he'll trade him again. I mean, that's going to be the Nico Harrison
For
cycle.
defense.
Yeah, he's going to trade
Yeah.
him for an age. It'll be like who would be the 32-year-old broken down. I don't know, like maybe trade him for like I can't even think of who's like maybe like Giannis. He'll trade him for like a 36-year-old
Exactly.
Giannis.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
Exactly. There
you're
you
like,
go.
this
That's
is
it
the
right
move.
there.
We've got Giannis. We can compete. Bring defense wins championship because Cooper King and Cross wasn't good enough to win a championship. I can't believe this, man. So the Spurs have a chance to add a generational piece because I said on the show, I think there's a handful of all SWBA guys. I think Jalen Snow, I think Trey Turner, I think Cooper King and Cross are all SWBA talents, and then all stars are Jameson Johnson, Lamarian Sherwood. I think you throw Glory Tate into that mix. So right now, if you're Philadelphia, if you're Washington, you still might get lucky. If you're Utah, I still think there's a lot of value there at 5 and 6. And that's the thing. Regardless of what happens in this draft class that has no consensus number one, I still think this is a moot point for all three of those teams: Philadelphia, Dallas, and San Antonio. You're getting a really good basketball player.
You're going to get a good player. Like, I think that if you're in that top, like you said, you're going to get a solid player. Is it going to be a player that changes your franchise? You want it to be that, but you're definitely going to get, I think, a good start in the right direction, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, with these teams here. And I mean, Philadelphia, look, they have got to be just, again, they're ecstatic as well.
Have to
The
be.
fact that they're right in the running
Yeah.
after the year that they've had, and they have Jared McCain out there, which I think is going to be a huge piece. You talked about Tyrese Maxey. Like, they need this. Like you said, to get this franchise going in a different direction, they need this bad.
Yeah. All right. So we've got the top four. Reminder: no Cooper Flag in this draft. He's got to spend 2 seasons in college. Just a reminder in the chat. I see that name getting dropped a handful of times. So no Cooper Flag. We are deciding for the rights to take Cooper Kingy Cross, Lamarian Sherwood, Jalen Snow. There's still plenty of good talent here, and it's down to Dallas, Philadelphia, San Antonio, and the Sixers in Philadelphia. So Mark Tatum is going to deliver them. Again, if you're tuning in, Mark Tatum is just now opening pick number 4 if you're watching and tuning in here. So we've got Charlotte going number 4. The conspiracy theories I've just locked in my opinion, Rico, and I can't be told otherwise. So the Hornets are number 4. The Sixers are number 3. So it's down to the if the Spurs, man, if the Spurs add like Lamarian Sherwood or Jameson Johnson, no, they're going number 2. I'm done. I'm done.
The Mavs got the
I'm
first pick overall.
freaking done.
Unbelievable. After
This-
the year that they have had,
Oh my!
all the way to the top. The top. Unbelievable.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed, Rico. There's no justice in this world. Justice is dead. Justice is dead. What?
Never won the lottery? Is it? Unbelievable.
This is
To prove your theory some more though, okay, breaking news. Giannis is open to exploring other options.
He is. I don't know if it's Dallas, but this is.
He's open.
I'm distraught. I'm distraught. There's no accountability in this world. There's none. There's no accountability in this world anymore. You get to trade away a generational star to get
As we're
nothing.
hearing that they've had a rough year, and I'm just thinking, you think?
Oh
I'm
my.
just listening to, I guess, one of their execs here. Actually, he was a player back in the day,
Yeah.
talking about just the rough year here for the Mavs. Man, this is wild. So,
I I think this goes without saying. I'm not often lost for words. I'm at a loss of words. Um, I can't believe this. I can't believe Dallas got it. I didn't think by saying my conspiracy theories that it would actually come true, and it did. And this is just not. This is not okay. So the Spurs are going to go number 2. So okay, let's do this real quick. So we got Mavericks, Spurs, Sixers, Hornets, Jazz, Wizards. Let's go top 6. What are you doing right now at the top of the draft? Who are you taking, and what are you thinking?
uh, gosh, if you're the Mavs, that is they already got two bigs too, and so I just think that for
Yeah,
them,
I don't. It's here. You know what? Here's the argument. Actually, I'm gonna make an argument. I have said this multiple times, probably more times than people care to listen. I have said that Lamarian Sherwood should not be the number 1 pick because I don't think his ceiling is as high as others. But on a team that you are trying to win basketball games right now, you need a defensive anchor next to Anthony Davis right now. Lamarian Sherwood makes sense if you're looking at Anthony Davis in Los Angeles is saying, I need a big. I need a big. I need a big. I need a big. You can get him Lamarian Sherwood. I don't know that Lamarian Sherwood's the best player in the draft, Rico, but I can see them talking themselves into Lamarian Sherwood at number 1.
but what about this though? They have Gafford and they have Lively. So what are you doing there? Are you? I think most certainly you're going to have to make some changes. See, this is where, as a GM, it gets interesting because you have that. I don't know what the situation is with Kyrie too, so I don't want to throw him out there in the mix. I don't know if he's probably coming back. Probably might be over a year, or like at least till the later half of next year because it was pretty late when
Yeah,
he
it's
tore up
like
his knee, right?
March.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's got quite some time to be
he's
back.
done
So
for a while.
I just think that for them, they probably should go out and get a wing or somebody in the backcourt. Personally, I think so, but I do see what you're saying because that does go into
Yeah,
what
no,
AD
you're
talked
right.
about with the Lakers, saying that, hey, I want to get somebody where I don't have to play the 5, which is ridiculous
Yeah.
in my mind because it's like, come on, AD, like you are a 5, but he doesn't want to play the 5. So
And you're right. And as I think more about it, and you talk sense into me, my mind is finally settling down. I've accepted this as reality. You need a creator, right? That was the big argument when they traded away Luka. Um, Kyrie was the only guy that could create on ball. So I think right now you're looking at. I think Trey Turner's a phenomenal shooter, but I don't think he's as elite of an on ball creator. I This is gonna bother some people. I think it's Jalen Snow or CKC at number 1. I really do. And I know there's people that aren't in the Jalen Snow camp, but the ability to create on the ball, those two are both fantastic on ball creators. They can fit in. Jalen Snow can play next to with his size next to Kyrie when he comes back. Cooper King across, you can make the argument he's a great on-ball scoring creator. I think he's a little bit smaller, like 6'3", 6'4", but you have a chance then when Kyrie comes back to say, look, ease into it. We've got Cooper King across. Is he going to be great? Maybe not, but he is a junior. I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact that Jalen Snow and Cooper King across, both older players coming out. I think you're right. It shouldn't be Lamarian Sherwood. It shouldn't be because they need somebody else to create on ball. So is that where you're going? You're just going on ball creator. Let's just do a little mock draft. Who are you taking? Let's just do a pick.
So if Snow is available for me, and I mean this is a little bit of a bias, man, because I like Jalen Snow a lot. Like I've watched a lot of the West Coast stuff, and I just think between the two, personally, I think he would be the more, it sounds terrible, maybe willing passer. Like he's the guy that I think he's going to go, okay, I can go out and score, some points or whatever, but he's going to also be okay with racking up the double doubles. I
You're
think with
talking King and Cross.
CKC, that might be a little bit more of a learned experience because it's high usage rate for him, primarily a scorer. When you get to the next level, different defenses, you can jack up a ton of shots like that, but you do, like you said, you have Anthony Davis and stuff like that. So for him to get acclimated to that, like this would be, I don't want to put Maryland down like this, but this actually might be some pretty good players that he's playing with. And so he would have to take a little bit of a step back. I wonder, does that hurt his overall game? That's just my only thing. So I don't want to take anything away from CKC, but I'm more of a Jalen Snow guy. Love
Okay,
his
so
range. And I think he's more of a bit of a playmaker for me personally.
you've got Jalen Snow going number one in our no research done reaction to the draft. Number two ends up being San Antonio. Who do you have taking San Antonio? Or who's
So
San
San
Antonio taking?
Antonio, look, they've already got Castle. I think that they probably move on from Chris Paul, maybe. I think that that would probably be the move. I got to look at the contract or whatever. Even if they didn't, not a disaster. You have De'Aaron Fox there. And so for them, maybe they're the ones that want to go big. Maybe they're the ones, because think about this, years ago, Tim Duncan and then David Robinson, you have like a kind of a hybrid morphed version here with Wimby, and you come with another big man, and that kind of goes into what I was talking about with the SAR and another big dynamic. You
Yeah.
have somebody that can stretch the floor, and you have somebody that can just beat you up down in the paint. So you have two of the best both worlds here. And so their half court offense would be just unstoppable.
Yeah, I think Lemarian Sherwood makes a lot of sense there. You've already got De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt. You've got Stephon Castle. This is a class that I've talked about a lot. There's not a really great mid-sized forward, right? There's a lot of guards and there's a lot of bigs, and there's not a lot of threes, like traditional threes. Yes, there's some fours, some Donta Walkers out there. Mackenzie Mbako. Those guys. Bam Wallace is really the best shooting forward. He's not probably going to be a pick in the top five. So if I think Lemarian Sherwood there for the Spurs. All right, we're just going to finish up this top six, and then we're going to close out. So number three with Philadelphia, who do you think the Sixers end up taking?
So this is where I think that they could pivot off of Embiid, and I think you could go with Johnson. You can make an argument here, especially since they already have Tyrese Maxey, they have McCain out there. I think that you can hang around with Paul George. He doesn't necessarily get in the way. Those could be your backcourt slash wing there, and I think that this is where you maybe pivot and go with Johnson there. He needs to get a bit more tougher. Honestly, I mean, we'll see what happens when the interviews start and the draft combine, stuff like that. But it's just my personal opinion. I think that he's going to have to get tougher, but he's going to have a lot of a runway there. I think that this would be perfect for him to come in and just help them reestablish their identity that way and get you a big.
So you're taking Jamison Johnson with the Philadelphia 76ers at number three. It's your off ramp.
I like him
It's
there.
it's your off ramp from Embiid. I think that's something that you have to do. All right, number four, Charlotte. Where are you going?
All right. So for Charlotte, this is where you have. This is tough because you already have Brandon Miller. You have LaMelo Ball. And I want to say you go Trey Turner here, but I'm just
I
thinking
love
like,
that.
man, that's
No, that's it. That's the move. You add a shooter, somebody who can create, somebody who's on the perimeter. I think this is a team that makes a lot of sense for Johnson and Sherwood, but it's a
yeah.
team that is not actually going to have a chance at him. So to me, you get another person that can stretch the floor. It's going to make the life easier for LaMelo Ball. Trey Turner's a deadly shooter from deep. I think it makes 100% sense to get Trey Turner, who's 6'4", 6'5". You've got three guys that you can build around on the perimeter in a game that's extremely perimeter based.
And see, here's the deal too. You got to think about this. I don't know if Charlotte is committed really for LaMelo Ball. I've been seeing some rumors that they might want to move off of him, and that would kind of open it up a little bit more for Trey Turner, who, if he's durable and he's also the one that can stretch the floor, you almost kind of restart the direction that you're going with Charlotte. Because I think that at some point they do look to address the front court in Mark Williams, but I like that with the Trey Turner. I was hesitant, thinking about that with those two back there, but I think that Charlotte would end up pivoting at some point. Somebody's got to be moved, I think.
Of those three, you're saying you don't think you can have all
Of
three
those
of
three,
them?
I think that LaMelo would be the one to be moved because he's not healthy. He's not on the court enough. He's just not on the court enough, and I think you could get something else.
Yeah. Um, we got. I'm checking the chat right now. We got Coach Pope calling out Caden Ship. I think we've seen some agreement there. On Jamison Johnson to the Sixers. We got some folks, Coach Pope liking the Sherwood to Wemby pick up there. I don't I don't know that Caden Shipp has the upside to go in the top 5. I really like Caden Shipp, but I think if you look at this is my opinion. I'm not pretending to be the expert on this, but to me, I think there's a top 6 category, and I don't think that's Caden Shipp. So, all right, I agree. Trey Turner. I don't know about LaMelo Ball getting dealt. I think he's a small franchise like Charlotte. He's too much of a face. Like he sells. He's the most popular player among young basketball fans, and if he's in LA, they love him. He's in Charlotte, they adore him, right? So I don't know that they're moving on. I think it makes sense for Trey Turner there. Let's go number 5, Utah. Who do you think they take at number 5?
All right, so I don't know if this is too rich, but I just like I said, I think that they need somebody that can help you pivot away from like a Colin Sexton there. I think you do need somebody like that. Do I dare say that this is where Outlaw would go? Because that just as a
Ooh,
combo guard, I mean, I know it's maybe a little rich for people right there, but I'm just thinking, like I said, with Filipowski, you still got Walker Kessler, who I think that they want to hold on to. They're a solid team here. All right. And then you also have Williams' brother as well, the one that plays for OKC. His brother Cody is
yep.
with them. So they have a young nucleus here. I could see a combo guard really fitting well with Utah right
Do
there.
you think that it makes more sense for Lace Darius Outlaw instead of Cooper King Cross? Because
For
I
what
feel like
Utah wants to do, I think he would be perfect. And I'm talking about Outlaw. For me
Okay,
personally, if I'm talking about the team just right now as constructed, I like Outlaw more in Utah
okay,
than I do CKC.
that's a
Personally, I do because for them, they need some structure and not again. I know kind of hammering CKC, but I just feel like that we get a little bit more polished of a player with Lace Darius Outlaw. That's personally me. He just seems like he's the guy that's the adult in the room there for him, and I think Utah really needs that.
I think it's CKC. I think Washington fans cry by seeing their hometown guy come up one spot short, but I think it's CKC in my opinion. If I'm in charge, um, he does everything that LDO does, but better. I mean, I think the Memphis squad, the roster was a lot better this season than it was around Cooper King Cross. And look, one of those two teams advanced to the second round, and one of them didn't, and that'd be the Cooper King Cross one. I think that we could see Cooper King Cross continue to rise if he's able to beat Villanova and make a deep run into Hoopsteria. All right, number 6, which is where I kind of think the top of the draft ends, and I could be wrong here, but all right, Washington, and I think more of the interest kind of wanes. Not that it's uninteresting, but Washington at number 6. In your world, you've got LDO taken, so I'm assuming you say Cooper King Cross here at number 6.
I think that CKC would be the move here, and I think that what you have now is you're trying to get off of Jordan Poole. You're trying to get out of that. You're trying to get out of Chris Middleton. I think that maybe Marcus Smart could stay. I know you've got to have some veteran presence, but I think that this is the move now where you get somebody that can score like a Jordan Poole, but I just think has more control. Okay, so I think he has obviously more upside. You can get some more out of him. So CKC makes a whole bunch of sense here,
Yep.
especially since you already got your big. So that's fine.
I agree with him. Agree with you if he's on the board. I don't think he's going to get past 5. I'd be shocked if CKC falls out of the top 5 in some capacity, which is why I would probably go. I think this is where you could kind of get a little freaky, a little feisty. You know, like does Donta Walker make sense there? But I still think it's Glory Tate. I like Glory Tate's upside. He's a really good 3-point shooter. He's 6'5", but kind of plays like he's 6'7". I think there could be a team in the top 5 that talks themselves into Glory Tate because I do think his upside is all-star caliber. I think there's 3 all SWBA guys, and I think there's 3 all-stars in this class, in my opinion, and Glory Tate's the 3rd all-star, and that's where I would be going with number 6.
Well, here's what I would say though. Since you mentioned Dante Walker, what about Johnny Basketball Baldwin? What about him? Because I like him a lot, being a guy that can be versatile forward center.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. So I mean, if we're starting to look at these forwards and slash and wing centers, whatever, he's the guy that I like there.
Yeah, I think the only thing in it, and it contradicts what I said earlier, is how do you feel about him with Alex Sarr? And I don't think that should matter, right? I still say you take the best player available and you figure it out. But as we've seen, if you look at the playoffs, right? Look at the 4 teams, or the 8 teams that are left and their front courts, right? The Warriors are just weird. right? They play Draymond at the 5. They don't really count. But the Cavaliers, they're really struggling with two paint bound big men, right? The Pacers are running them off the floor because they can shoot. The Celtics and the Knicks, both with shooting big men. Um, the Nuggets, Jokic can shoot. The Thunder can shoot. Naz Reid with the Wolves can shoot. Chet Holmgren is my Thunder comparison. So I don't know if you got two big men. Now, are you confirming Alex Sarr and Johnny Baldwin as the future? Maybe not. But if you look at the teams that are successful, it's a mixture of a paint bound guy that can defend and somebody who can stretch the floor. And so I would be worried that we've gone all in at two positions back to back years that are contradictory to one another and not complementary. I think that would be my concern if I'm looking at the Wizards and taking Johnny Baldwin. I think Johnny Baldwin's really freaking good, but I don't know if he's that good.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and I mean, like I said, it's more of a shot there. I liked him a lot. Again, I just think he's a guy that you get him out in the open court. I think he's going to score a ton there, and I think he's a guy that look, man, just for a long-term fit, your front line, like I just like him a lot there with
Mm-hmm.
Washington. But I mean, Dante Walker, that's a solid pick, but Johnny he's a guy that I like a lot. So
Yeah, I think once we get outside of 6, it starts to get really funky, right? Donta Walker, Tyson Simpson. Don't forget about Tyson Simpson coming back off the Achilles. Johnny Baldwin, Kayshawn Ship. I'm just looking at ESPN's last mock draft. Bam Wallace starts to kind of be like, do you take him? Mackenzie Mbako in that range. Lace Darius Outlaw, of course. Nat Hawkins, who had a great game to start things off. So it starts to get fun, I think, after that because it's just unknown.
what about Richard Przowski? Like, I think he's a guy to me that I feel like he should come up the board in this draft.
I just
Personally, I think he could.
can't you get what you're getting out of Pazarski by taking Walker or Kayshawn Ship and have a higher upside?
You could, but he intrigues me though. It's something about his physical tools. It's like I wonder as a GM, is he worth taking a shot on?
Sure.
Right? Like that's my whole thing. I'm wondering about that. We'll see what happens. Clearly these guys still got to interview and all kinds of other stuff like that and see what happens. But he intrigues me. Let's just say he's one of my more intriguing prospects
Sure.
here.
All right. Well, that's our show. I appreciate everyone jumping on to this kind of haphazardly, not awesome production. You can blame producer right here and not our normal production team. But it's official. The SWBA is rigged. The Dallas Mavericks end up with the number 1 pick. This is chaos. The freaking Spurs get number 2. The Sixers get number 3. 3 of the teams that I said, let's find a conspiracy theory for them. All of them hit, and I have always been, there's no conspiracy theories in basketball. I am wrong. I have flipped to the opposite side. Every game is predetermined. It's over, Rico. That's it. I will go and cry myself to sleep before we talk again for SimWorld today in the morning. So, Rico, I appreciate you taking the time, hopping on here. I appreciate, really quick, I just want to shout out everyone in the chat. We're just going through it. We got Tony D, we got Biff Markham, we got Coach Joyner, we got Cole Collins, Coach Simpson, B-Ron, Coach Pope. I think I said Biff already. I'm just trying to make sure. Jay Midoriya popping in, Malik Simmons, Scott Marnock, Brock Chalmers, Millie Gee, Redbud. Let's make sure I'm just trying to make sure. Suno Chapa poking in here for a minute. Shout out to all y'all. Appreciate you taking the time to tune in. Does mean a lot to us. And of course, SimWorld Hoops, SimWorld U back in action tomorrow with the second round of the Hoopsteria, as some of the guys that we just talked about are going to be fully in action. All right, that's our little live reaction show. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will talk to you guys on the other side.
Peace.